Good afternoon, everybody. I hope everybody enjoys their lunch or is about to enjoy their lunch. And thank you for joining us in just this brief 10-minute conversation where we'll set the scene talking about trends, leadership, and skills of the future. And as they just mentioned, the conversation will take place in about 20 minutes in the Fishbowl. My name is Kyle Israel. I'm a former professional American football quarterback. I've been an entrepreneur and startup founder for the last 15 years, and as you just heard, currently working in business development with Tignum. But more importantly, to my left, I have Mayi, Cruz, Blanco, and I could spend 10 minutes talking about your experience. I'll be brief. Mayi was the global head of women's football for nearly 10 years at FIFA. She's on the steering committee for Athlete 365 Plus at the IOC, and currently the managing director and sports practice and partnerships at the Adecco Group. So without further ado, if you have anything to add, I'll get right into the questions.
No, let's get into it.
Okay. So I know there are many, but to you, what are the key trends shaping the future of sport today? Excuse me.
That's a great question. I think we already have it on the screen, so it's not an exhaustive list, but if we think about all the things that have been discussed this morning, perhaps one thing that is actually bringing up great influence is public trust. It's like really influencing the way sponsorship is done, the way partnerships are done in sports, the way we have to give purpose and meaning to the way we partner with sports organizations. I think the human rights movement, the women's in sports and geopolitics are shaping sports like never before. And one thing that I'm particularly excited about, which I think is time was up for this, was athlete influence. And we've been athletes, and I think today athletes' influence goes beyond the boundaries of sports organizations. The fact that social media has given athletes such a strong platform has made it possible for Colin Kaepernick, Megan Rapinoe, and the U.S. women's national team to really discuss important matters and influence change in sports. I think one big topic is consumer preference and preferences, and we heard it in the first Fishbowl, is how eyeballs are actually diverted to so many directions that now we really have to think how we make sports actually relevant today. Technology and private equity are also big trends today.
No doubt. And to make change and leverage change, you've got to have great culture and leadership. So what type of culture and leadership is required to really leverage these trends into opportunities in the industry?
Absolutely. I think there's a big number on the screen. 81% of C-suite global leaders that were surveyed by LinkedIn last year see the need for change in culture and leadership.
Wow.
And that's a big stake. And the question is, are sports organizations, is the sports industry ready for that jump? When we heard Cody this morning, I mean, his presentation was mind-bending.
I agree.
And the idea that, hey, we might need to bring sports to Mars one day, we might be interplanetary species, like, as a sports organization, you need to really think, what kind of culture you want to create for the future that in the past was maybe fantasy, but today is reality. So really bringing that kind of change and really being bold from a leadership perspective, thinking about how I manage this new reality. That, I think, is the kind of leadership. And it's really exciting.
It is exciting. The new reality is going to bring new skill sets. So with that, what skills will be needed for a sustainable future in sport?
Well, here is another number that might be a little bit scary, but by 2025, 50% of the people working in the world will need upskilling.
Huh.
So the question is, what kind of skills do I need to be in a sports organization? It's no longer just organizing events. It's entertainment, it's data, digital literacy, so that we can enhance athlete performance, but also understand fan engagement and how do we bring sports organizations to that future? But it's also diplomacy. It's also thinking human rights.
Yeah.
It's also thinking diversity. So many things that are really shaping the way we will be people working in sports and the skills we need for that future.
you just mentioned a few of those categories, but what talent or groups can help attain greater innovation in commercial performance?
Some numbers here too. I think it's really important to reflect that, diversity is not just about numbers and quotas. It's actually making a huge difference in the world. So if we think about greater innovation, profitability differential, candidates are declining organizations that are not inclusive enough. But at the same time, if we want to bring that change, clearly the numbers are saying you need to bring different groups into the sports industry. Yeah. And it's not just about women and men, it's about different ethnics, different sexual orientations, people that are different thinking, so that you can really bring forward to that future that is already here.
It is here. The future is now. And let me double click on one of those groups. Both of us fall into this category. What can former athletes bring back to the sport beyond what they did on the playing field?
That's what I'm really excited about in our conversation and what is coming up. I mean, EY did a research that I know many people in this room know about, and they look at CEOs and C-suite leaders within Fortune 500, and 90% of them had athletic background. And I know we are talking about women, but many men that are leading in Fortune 500 companies have athletic background.
Definitely.
So from our perspective at the Adecco Group, that's at the heart of what we do in the practice, is really looking at athlete talent. And when we speak with companies, hey, athletes have all these amazing attributes: resilient, they're analysts, they're positive disruptors, and I think disruption is quite important today. So beyond all of the great things that we know about athletes, the business-minded, the creative thinking, the analytical thinking, I mean, tell me from your perspective.
I mean, certainly I've seen athletes carry a ton of traits. Often the challenge can be, do organizations know how to adapt to that early friction period where an athlete is moving out of this very comfortable, normal environment that they were in and then into the business world? That transition phase is critical. It goes deeper. We don't have the time to go deeper. But organizations need to be thinking about, how can I best leverage these talents that exist within athletes? And I know we're short on time, so after all of this, really, what can be done?
I think one thing is not overlooking athlete talent for a change as well. There is an education that needs on both sides, athlete understanding what are my skills and attributes, how do I translate that beyond sports, but also organizations thinking about that talent. And I think the sports industry need to think more how they bring athlete back.
Seems like they should understand that, but they don't.
It's not happening mainstream, and I think it's a talent that they need really to tap in. So if we think about what is next, I'm really excited because we've been working with Think Sports and Lausanne Olympic Capital and talking to different stakeholders, really diverse of stakeholders. And here are some of the areas we might need to explore further when it comes to development of this topic, which we call human capital. It's a very broad topic, but I just like to say this is not HR, this is not recruitment, this is vision, this is a strategy, this is the change we want to bring into sports, this is staying relevant. So it's really looking into culture and leadership. It's what kind of skills and talent do we need, and what are the groups that are going to power our organizations. And there is diversity with purpose. So it's no longer like we have perhaps one woman sitting at the table and that's enough. No, it's like it's bringing that mainstream. It's having a creative commercial acumen. In the past, maybe just deliver an event was enough, but today, after the pandemic, we know that things could happen. So what kind of business models do we want? What kind of other things we could do from a business perspective to stay relevant, to not just live out of perhaps every 4 years some funding that comes to our organizations, but actually becoming sustainably from a business perspective. And the last thing is about education and digital literacy. And this is quite important because we've got a lot of people here in this room and many people that love working in sports. So what kind of educational program, training programs, what kind of talent do we want to develop, and what do we want to bring to them so that they're ready for that? So that's really exciting because we are today announcing, I think I lost one slide. the Human Capital Development Project that we are doing jointly as a team. And now it is. There you go. So it's the start of a road, but I think we got many people that are embracing this topic and not bracing themselves, hopefully.
I'm very excited to be a part of the workshop tomorrow. I think a lot of great things are going to happen there. I think that is the end of our time. We're going to continue this conversation over in the fishbowl in about 10 minutes. Mayi, thank you for your perspective, your insight from the ground. It's extremely valuable. And if you'd like to hear more from Mayi and our other panelists, we'll see you in about 10 minutes, just a few feet away. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you.